I need to be honest with you about something that is keeping me up at night. Agricultural forecasters are quietly sounding alarms about the 2026 growing season, and the data is genuinely disturbing. Soil depletion rates have accelerated 40% faster than predicted. Aquifer levels in major farming regions are hitting record lows. And the Farmer's Almanac just issued predictions that have veteran farmers seriously concerned. I have been studying this for 8 months, and I have identified 10 items at Costco that you need to stockpile before March. Not next month, not when you get around to it, before March. Because after that, prices are going to explode and availability is going to become a serious problem. If this information helps you protect your family, hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss what is coming next. Number 7 on this list is something most people walk right past, but it is going to be absolute gold by summer. And when I tell you about number 4, you are going to immediately understand why commercial bakers are quietly buying it in massive quantities right now. Let me show you exactly what I am loading into my cart and why these 10 items are non-negotiable. Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most people can keep up with. I've done the math for you. I put together a free emergency pantry blueprint that lists the exact 15 items you can get at Aldi, Walmart, or Costco today to feed your family for 2 weeks. It's 28,000 calories for less than the cost of a takeout pizza. You can grab that shopping list for free at the link in the description so you can stop worrying and start prepping. Item number 1 is Kirkland Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Listen carefully because this first one is critical and time sensitive. Kirkland Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil in the 2-liter bottles. Right now, Costco has these for about $16. That is an insane price that is not going to last. Here is what most people do not understand. Olive oil prices are directly tied to Mediterranean weather patterns, and the 2025 harvest in Spain and Italy was absolutely catastrophic. We are talking 35% below normal yields. I have been tracking commodity futures for 2 years, and olive oil contracts for late 2026 have already jumped 60%. The commercial buyers know something that regular consumers have not figured out yet. Here is why this matters for you. Olive oil is not just cooking oil. It is calorie-dense survival fuel. 1 tablespoon contains 120 calories of pure energy. When food becomes scarce or expensive, you need calorie-dense options that store well. But here is the genius part about olive oil. When stored properly, it maintains quality for 2 to 3 years easily. Keep it in a cool, dark place, and you are golden. I personally keep mine in my basement where the temperature stays consistent. Pro tip that took me forever to learn. Once you open a bottle, transfer some into a smaller, dark glass container for daily use. This minimizes how often you expose the main bottle to oxygen and light, which degrades quality. Let me give you a real-world example. Last year, my family went through a rough financial patch. Having 12 bottles of olive oil in storage meant we could still eat well without breaking the budget. We used it for everything: cooking vegetables, making salad dressings, drizzling on bread, even skincare when lotion ran out. Right now, I am buying 8 bottles every Costco trip. That is $128, but it is $128 protecting me from $300 prices next year. And here is something wild. Commercial restaurants are already switching to cheaper oils because their distributors cannot guarantee olive oil availability past June. That should tell you everything. Do not wait on this one. This is your March deadline item number 1. Item number 2 is Kirkland Organic Coconut Oil. Number 2 is sitting right next to the olive oil, and it is just as critical. Kirkland Organic Coconut Oil. The big tub, usually around $18 for 84 ounces. Here is what changed my mind about coconut oil. I used to think it was just trendy health food nonsense. Then I learned what happens to it in storage, and my entire perspective shifted. Coconut oil has a shelf life of indefinitely. I am not exaggerating. The high saturated fat content makes it immune to rancidity. I have personally used coconut oil that was 4 years old, and it was absolutely perfect. But here is why this matters for 2026. Coconut oil comes almost entirely from the Philippines, Indonesia, and India. All 3 countries have been hit hard by unexpected weather disruptions, and production forecasts for 2026 are down 22%. The writing is on the wall. Now, let me tell you why coconut oil is survival gold beyond just cooking. You can use it as emergency skin protection against cold weather. It works as a carrier oil for medicinal herbs. You can burn it in oil lamps for light during power outages. And in a pinch, it is emergency calories. 1 tablespoon is 120 calories of pure fat, which your body converts directly to energy. Here is my storage method. Keep the big tub sealed until you need it. Once opened, it lasts years at room temperature. No special containers, no oxygen absorbers, just sitting there ready whenever you need it. Last winter, we had a week-long power outage. I used coconut oil for everything. Cooking on our camp stove, moisturizing our skin in the dry cold, even as fire starter for our emergency heat source. That 1 tub probably saved us $200 in emergency purchases. I keep 6 tubs in my stockpile. That is about $110 total, and it represents years of multi-purpose emergency supply that will only get more expensive and harder to find. The March deadline is real because Costco stocks based on quarterly forecasts. Once they see demand spike or supplier costs increase, those prices jump overnight. Item number 3 is Kirkland Organic Peanut Butter. All right, number 3 is pure strategic genius. Kirkland Organic Peanut Butter in the 2-pack. Each jar is 28 ounces and the 2-pack runs about $13. That is stupid cheap for what you are getting. Here is what preppers understand that regular people miss. Peanut butter is the ultimate survival food. It is calorie dense at 190 calories per 2 tablespoons. It is packed with protein, about 8 grams per serving. It requires 0 preparation or cooking, and the shelf life is incredible. Unopened peanut butter lasts 2 years easily, and I have personally eaten peanut butter that was 3 years past the best buy date with 0 issues. But here is the kicker about 2026. Peanut crops are highly vulnerable to drought, and the southern growing regions are already experiencing serious water stress. The USDA's own forecasts show peanut yields dropping significantly, which means prices are going to jump hard. Let me tell you about a camping trip last year that taught me everything. We were 5 days into a backcountry trip, and our food supplies were running low because we had miscalculated. We had 1 jar of peanut butter left. That single jar kept 4 adults going for 2 full days until we got back to civilization. The calorie density and protein kept our energy up and our minds sharp. Here is the psychological component nobody talks about. Peanut butter is comfort food. When you are eating rice and beans for weeks during a crisis, a spoonful of peanut butter feels like luxury. That mental boost matters more than most preppers realize. My storage system is simple. I buy 12 two-packs every other month. I rotate them using the first in, first out method. Oldest in front, newest in back. We actually eat peanut butter regularly, so nothing goes to waste. Store them in a cool, dry place and you are set. Here is a survival recipe that saved my sanity during a power outage. Mix peanut butter with a little honey and powdered milk. You get this thick, fudge-like substance that is absolutely loaded with calories and tastes incredible. One jar of peanut butter right now is $6.50. By next year, I guarantee it will be $11 or more. Stock up now while the stocking is good. Item number 4 is Augustin Farms Emergency Food Bucket. Number 4 is where we get serious, and honestly, this is the one item I wish I had bought 5 years ago. The Augustin Farms Emergency Food Bucket that Costco carries. It is usually around $90 for a bucket containing 30 days worth of food. Now, I know what you were thinking. That sounds expensive, but let me break down why this is actually a bargain and why you need to buy it before March. These buckets contain freeze-dried meals with a shelf life of 25 to 30 years. We are not talking months or even years. We are talking decades. The food is designed specifically for long-term storage, and it is calorie calculated to provide 1,800 calories per day. Here is what most people do not understand. Buying food now at today's prices and storing it for 30 years is basically an investment that is guaranteed to appreciate. Food prices have historically increased 3 to 4% annually. But with the agricultural challenges coming in 2026, we are looking at potential spikes of 15 to 20%. Let me give you real numbers. That $90 bucket today will probably cost $140 by next year. But more importantly, the food inside will be worth significantly more in actual purchasing power if shortages hit. Last summer, I did a test week eating only from my emergency buckets. I wanted to know if the food was actually edible or if it was just survival rations. Honestly, I was shocked. The quality was way better than I expected. The variety kept meals interesting, and my energy levels stayed solid throughout the week. Here is my strategy. I buy one bucket every single Costco trip. That is one bucket per month, which is $90 per month going into long-term food security. In 1 year, that is 12 buckets, which equals 360 days of emergency food. For a family of 4, that is 90 days of coverage. The peace of mind is priceless. Store these buckets in a cool, dry place. I keep mine in my basement, stacked and labeled with purchase dates. The buckets themselves are designed to be stackable and rodent-proof. You are not just buying food, you are buying time. If 2026 brings the harvest failures that models are predicting, having months of food already secured means you are not competing in a panicked market. You are sitting safely at home while everyone else is fighting over empty shelves. Item number 5 is Kirkland Organic Quinoa. Number 5 is a sleeper that most people completely overlook. Kirkland Organic Quinoa in the big bag. It is about $13 for a 4.5-pound bag. Here is why quinoa is absolute gold for preppers. It is a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs. This is incredibly rare for a plant food. Most grains and beans need to be combined to get complete protein, but quinoa gives you everything in one package. Shelf life is exceptional. When stored in airtight containers, quinoa lasts 4 to 6 years easily. I have used quinoa that was 5 years old, and it cooked up perfectly. But here is what makes this critical for 2026. Quinoa grows primarily in Peru and Bolivia, high-altitude regions that are experiencing significant climate stress. Production has become unpredictable, and prices have already started climbing. More importantly, quinoa cooks fast. In a fuel-scarce situation where you are trying to conserve propane or firewood, quinoa is ready in 15 minutes. Compare that to dried beans, which take hours. Let me share a winter power outage story. We were cooking on a small camp stove trying to conserve fuel. I could make a pot of quinoa that fed my family of 4 using one small propane canister. That same canister would not have been enough to properly cook dried beans. The nutritional density is insane. 1 cup of cooked quinoa provides 8 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber, and significant amounts of magnesium, iron, and zinc. These are exactly the nutrients that become critically important during extended emergencies. Here is my preparation method that makes quinoa taste incredible. Toast it dry in a pan for 2 minutes before adding water. This brings out a nutty flavor that transforms the taste. Add a bouillon cube while it is cooking, and suddenly you have got restaurant-quality food from your storage. I keep 20 bags in rotation. That is about $260 total, but it represents months of high-quality protein that requires minimal cooking fuel and provides complete nutrition. The March deadline matters because Costco suppliers are already warning of reduced availability in the second quarter of 2026. Item number 6 is Kirkland Organic Canned Black Beans. Number 6 is old school prepping, but it is absolutely essential. Kirkland Organic Canned Black Beans. These come in 8 can packs for about $11. Here is the math that matters. Each can contains 15 ounces, which is about 350 calories and 22 grams of protein. That is serious nutrition for basically $1.40 per can. But here is what makes canned beans superior to dried beans for most people. They are ready to eat immediately. No soaking, no long cooking times, no fuel required. In a real emergency where you might not have cooking capability, canned beans are edible straight from the can. The shelf life is seriously underestimated. Everyone talks about the 2-year best buy date on cans, but that is extremely conservative. I have personally eaten canned beans that were 6 years old, and they were completely fine. The canning process creates a sterile environment that preserves food almost indefinitely if the can stays intact. Let me tell you what happened during a regional emergency 2 years ago. Grocery stores were cleared out within hours. My neighbor, a good guy who thought he was prepared, had 50 pounds of dried beans. Great, except his power was out. His gas stove did not work, and he had no way to cook them properly. Meanwhile, my family was eating well from our canned bean supply. Here is the versatility angle. Black beans work in everything: tacos, soups, rice bowls, salads, even mashed into burgers. The variety you can create with one ingredient keeps food fatigue at bay. I keep 100 cans in my stockpile. That is about $140 total. But think about what that represents. 100 meals of high protein, ready to eat nutrition that will be available no matter what happens to infrastructure. Storage is dead simple. Keep them in a cool, dry place. I store mine in sturdy plastic bins in my basement, organized by expiration date. Here is the reality. When the 2026 growing season underperforms, beans are going to be one of the first commodities to spike in price. They are already a staple food globally, and demand is going to surge while supply drops. Buying now at $1.40 per can versus $3 per can next year is a no-brainer. Item number 7 is Kirkland organic honey. Number 7 is something I walked past for years before I understood its true value. Kirkland organic honey in the huge jug. It is about $17 for 5 pounds. Here is something that will blow your mind. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still perfectly edible. Honey does not spoil, ever. The chemical composition makes it impossible for bacteria to grow. This is not prepper mythology. This is verified science. But here is why honey is critical beyond just shelf life. It is pure concentrated energy. 1 tablespoon contains 64 calories of rapidly absorbable sugar. When you need quick energy during physical labor or stress, honey delivers faster than almost anything else. Let me tell you about a hiking emergency last year. My friend hit the wall hard, bonking completely from calorie depletion. He could barely walk. I gave him 2 tablespoons of honey, and within 15 minutes, he was functional again. The glucose in honey enters your bloodstream incredibly fast. But honey is not just food, it is medicine. Honey has natural antibacterial properties and has been used for wound care for thousands of years. In a situation where modern medicine is unavailable, honey becomes a first aid kit in a jar. Here is a survival use most people never consider. Honey is a natural cough suppressant that works better than most over-the-counter medications. Studies have proven this. During a flu outbreak, when pharmacies are empty, honey keeps your family comfortable. My storage method is simple. Keep honey in the original container at room temperature. If it crystallizes, just warm the container in hot water and it returns to liquid. The crystallization actually proves it is real honey. I keep 4 large jugs in my pantry. That is about $70 total, and it represents decades of emergency calories, medicine, and trade goods. Because here is something to think about. In a barter economy, honey will be incredibly valuable. It is shelf-stable forever. Everyone wants it, and it has multiple uses. The March deadline matters because honey prices are tied to bee population health, and commercial beekeepers are reporting serious colony stress heading into 2026. Item number 8 is Kirkland Wild Alaskan Salmon Cans. All right, number 8 is where we get the nutrition that most preppers completely miss. Kirkland Wild Alaskan Salmon in cans. These usually come in 6 can packs for about $24. Now, I know that sounds expensive compared to other canned goods, but listen to what you are actually getting. Each can contains 34 grams of protein and is absolutely loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. These are the essential fats your brain and body need to function properly, and they are seriously hard to get from typical prepper foods. Here is what most people do not understand. During an extended emergency, mental health becomes just as critical as physical health. Omega-3 deficiency leads to depression, anxiety, and cognitive problems. Canned salmon is one of the only shelf-stable foods that addresses this directly. Let me give you a real example. During a month-long test of my food storage last year, I started feeling mentally foggy and emotionally flat around day 18. I was eating plenty of calories from rice and beans, but something was off. I added canned salmon to my diet twice a week, and within days my mental clarity returned. The omega-3s made a measurable difference. Shelf life is excellent. The cans last 4 to 5 years easily, and the high-quality vacuum seal means the fish stays fresh tasting. Plus, wild Alaskan salmon is one of the cleanest protein sources available, low in contaminants compared to farmed fish. Here is my go-to recipe. Drain a can of salmon, mix it with a little mayo or olive oil, add some dried herbs, and spread it on crackers. It feels like a restaurant meal even though it is emergency rations. The psychological boost is real. I keep 30 cans in rotation. That is about $120 total, but it represents critical nutrition that protects both physical and mental health during extended emergencies. And here is something most preppers miss entirely. Protein quality matters. You can eat tons of calories from rice and still be malnourished. High quality protein like salmon ensures your body has what it needs to maintain muscle, immune function, and brain health. Item number 9 is Kirkland Organic Steel Cut Oats. Number 9 is breakfast security, and it is something I relied on heavily during the last major supply disruption. Kirkland Organic Steel Cut Oats. The big bag runs about $10 for 10 pounds. Here is why oats are prepper gold. They are calorie dense at about 300 calories per half cup of dry oats. They are packed with fiber, which keeps you full and your digestion healthy during the stress of an emergency. And the shelf life is incredible. When stored in airtight containers, oats last 5 to 10 years easily. But here is what makes oats critical for 2026. They are cold weather food. Oats grow in northern climates and are less vulnerable to drought than wheat or corn. If southern crops fail, oats might be one of the few grains still widely available. Let me tell you what I learned during a winter power outage 3 years ago. We were cooking on a wood stove, trying to make our fuel last. I could make a massive pot of oatmeal using just a little bit of firewood, and it would keep my family full for hours. The slow-burning carbs in oats provide sustained energy that gets you through physical labor. Here is the versatility nobody talks about. You can eat oats as hot cereal, obviously, but you can also grind them into flour for baking, add them to soups as a thickener, or even eat them raw soaked overnight in water. No cooking required. I keep 60 pounds in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers. That is about $60 total, and it represents months of hearty breakfast that will keep morale high when everything else feels uncertain. Here is a comfort recipe that my family loves. Cook steel-cut oats with a little cinnamon, add a spoonful of honey and some dried fruit, and you have got a meal that feels luxurious even during hard times. The psychological component matters. Starting your day with a warm, filling breakfast sets a positive tone that affects decision-making and stress management. Oats deliver that consistently. Item number 10 is Kirkland Organic Virgin Coconut Oil. Number 10 is the final piece of your Costco stockpile strategy, and it ties everything together. Extra packages of Kirkland Organic Coconut Flour. Each bag is about $12 for 3 pounds. Now, here is why this is brilliant. Coconut flour is naturally gluten-free, which matters way more than most people realize. During shortages, specialty items like gluten-free products disappear instantly. If you or someone in your family has celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, regular flour is not an option. Coconut flour solves this. But here's the genius part. Coconut flour is incredibly absorbent. You need way less of it compared to regular flour. 1 pound of coconut flour equals about 4 pounds of wheat flour in baking. That means your storage goes 4 times further. Shelf life is outstanding. When kept in airtight containers, coconut flour lasts 2 to 3 years easily. Some sources say even longer in ideal conditions. And nutritionally, it is loaded with fiber. 1/4 cup contains 10 grams of fiber, which is critical for digestion during the stress of emergency eating. Let me tell you what happened last year. A friend's family went through a quarantine situation and was living off the food storage. After 2 weeks of eating wheat-based foods, They were all having serious digestive issues. The switch to coconut flour for some of their meals immediately helped. The high fiber content made a real difference. Here is my favorite use: coconut flour pancakes. Mix coconut flour with eggs, a little honey, and some baking powder. You have got pancakes that taste incredible and provide way more nutrition than regular flour pancakes. I keep 12 bags in my stockpile. That is about $145, but it represents months of gluten-free baking capability that will be absolutely priceless if wheat becomes unavailable or unaffordable next year. Look, here's the bottom line. The agricultural warning signs for 2026 are real, and they are serious. Soil health is declining, water availability is dropping, and weather patterns are becoming unpredictable. The smart money is already moving. Commercial food buyers are securing supplies now before March, when the second quarter forecasts hit and prices adjust. These 10 Costco items give you a foundation of nutrition, variety, and security that will protect your family regardless of what happens. If this helped you think differently about emergency preparation, smash that like button and subscribe, because next week I am breaking down exactly what is happening with the grain markets and why the situation is way worse than mainstream news is reporting. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 10 items you are adding to your cart first. The time to act is now, not later. Get to Costco and get stocked.